National Party government is selling the state assets of New Zealand.
There's only one reason they're selling the assets that you already own, and that is because there's megabucks in them.
Yeah.
15 years ago, $1 million a day was going overseas once telecom was sold, and 98% of people didn't want telecom sold. And then, next thing you know, $1 million a day of Kiwi money that could be spent on the welfare of Kiwi people was going to overseas profit muggers. If there's money in it, the big boys are sniffing around like dogs. The Kiwi assets, they should stay in Kiwi hands so they can profit Kiwis and help the well-being of all Kiwis. They're selling something that already owns. They're traitors, and you know what we did with traitors during the World Wars? We put them against the post and we shot them.
Might be a bit rough, but it also might be appropriate. I once interviewed the lead research economist for the World Bank in terms of political and economic inequality, named Branko Milanovic. I asked him point blank whether or not privatization of severely essential state assets such as power companies and water companies wound up being economically viable to any nation that it has been done to before. He answered me point blank, no. He doesn't believe, this is the lead research economist of the World Bank, inequality. He does not believe that selling state assets helps the economy in any way. We are being salvaged. The country is being taken down by offshore interests who definitely are not going to stop their plunder of this nation with its wonderful land and exceptionally fabulous people. State capture is a form of corruption whereby companies get their hands on corporate policy at the governmental level, meaning that the government, being beholden to big companies, passes the legislation that the big companies demand. This does not include any of the ordinary people who are not economically viable enough to contribute.
He doesn't seem to have any idea what he's on about, this guy.
Yeah.
He's very poorly dressed.
Yeah.
And he's got no idea what's happening in the world today.
Yeah. I got no idea what's happening in the world. I just spoke to a Wall Street stockbroker that said that up to 80% of the current gold in circulation in the world markets is derivative gold. The real money in the economy is disappearing into the coffers of international bankers who have taken over policy of our government. This is the unfortunate reality that we must now face. That the media are complicit, the companies are complicit, and the governments are complicit too. Only individuals now remain to stand against tyranny and corruption and any other form of scumbaggery worthy of note. John Key worked for the Federal Reserve. He was on the board there in New York City for 2 years as the derivatives representative for Merrill Lynch, as head of the European bond and derivatives trade, which Money Magazine said was one of the chief causes of the 2008 financial crisis, which destroyed, not repositioned, not reshuffled, but destroyed upwards of 45% of the world's wealth at that time, for which New Zealand banks, having borrowed more than they could ever muster, were given a free bailout by John Key and his government, and not a single share in the companies was asked for. And now it is the turn for our state assets. Now that the government has its alleged mandate, they are going to flip off, quote unquote, 49% of a company to New Zealanders who already own 100% of the company. This is to get us out of debt, they tell us. If you have an asset that is making millions of dollars of profit every year, in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars of profit every year, selling it off means you no longer have that hundreds of millions of dollars of profit every year, which means you can't pay off your debts. John Key, the Prime Sinister, aka the Prime Sinister. Oh yeah. It's John Key, ladies and gentlemen, known alias the Prime Sinister, known alias Teflon John, Optimus Prime, and one nickname that he got while he was a Wall Street banker is the Smiling Assassin. I had the privilege of talking to a girl whose father worked with John Key, who said he was beaming from ear to ear after being given orders to fire 200 people and throw them out on the street within 24 hours. Beaming bright as magic. John Key was elected in a very highly contested election, not during an economic crisis that he in no small part helps to cause. Comes in posing as the savior. This is called problem, reaction, solution. The old name is the Hegelian dialectic, where you will create the problem. Then when everybody reacts to it and asks for you to save them, you have plans already in place to take away all remaining wealth and freedom from the victimized population of a country. John Perkins has gone public, told the world that he was part of an elaborate group of economic hitmen that worked for major US corporations to come into countries to bribe and, if necessary, threaten the leadership of those countries into selling off their state assets to foreign interests, so that those foreign interests could then control the strategic reserves and resources within those nations. This program has been running for decades, and now, surprise, surprise, everybody wonders why massive global corporations own virtually everything in every single country. They own us so much that they are now capable of influencing government policy via campaign contributions.